Please don't consider me disrespectful if I take my jacket off. It's warm in here. I've got your permission? Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Tonight's presentation is entitled In Search of Pleasure. I'm going to ask you for some help over here. Has there ever been a generation in the history of mankind that has so much physical comforts, pleasures, luxuries as this generation? Has there ever been another generation with so much luxury? True or false?
No.
There's never been. Tsars, kings and queens, 100 years ago did not enjoy what we take for granted. Is that true? Yeah, air conditioning? For most of us, anyway. Consider the following. Can we boast that for all the luxuries and comforts that we do enjoy, can we say we have more pleasure and happiness in our lives? Could we claim that? Let me ask a different question. Has there ever been a generation in history which has so much information on any subject? Health, exercise, nutrition, food, diets, and yet can we say that we are enjoying healthier lives? That we have more pleasure in our health? Or could we say there's never been a time in the history of the world where there's been so much depression, frustration, lack of satisfaction in jobs? True or false? Has there ever been a time in history where there's more information about how to get along with a husband or a wife? Has there ever been a time in history with more information than we have today? No. We have more insights, more psychology and therapy in the area of the dynamics of husband and wife, man and woman, girl and boy than any other time in history. And yet can we say that relationships have become happier, more pleasurable? Or are they more complicated, more frustrating, more painful than any other time in history? Look at divorce, premarital relations, clarity or confusion. What's wrong that in a generation that has everything, money, luxuries, comforts, opportunities in the area of finances, galore, there's never been a time in history where there's so many opportunities in the world of jobs, market, investments, true or false? And yet, can we say that we enjoy financial pleasure? Or could we argue there's never been a time in world history where there's been more pressure from finances, owing money, trying to build a business than any other time in history, and with that financial pressure, less time for oneself, less time for family, less time for physical pleasures, true or false? Less time for building the relationship, husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, true or false? Is there something missing here? We've got more clarity, more information, more luxuries, more on anything, and yet we cannot necessarily boast that her life has become a whole lot happier, more pleasurable. There seems to be something missing. That here we are in this planet, and we want pleasure in relationships. We want pleasure in our relationship with our parents, with our children, with our spouse, with ourselves. We want to have the pleasure of our achievements in the world of academics. And yet could we easily argue that wherever we go, somehow the dream of pleasure, the dream of happiness seems to run away from us? What do we mean? And I'm going to ask you to help me here. What do we mean when we say we are in search of pleasure? What pleasure are we talking about? Satisfaction. We're looking for satisfaction in what area? All areas. Okay, so pleasure means satisfaction in all areas. Marriage, dating, yeah? Clothes, would you agree? Sorry, would you agree? Yeah. We want satisfaction in our health, diet. You agree? You agree? Yeah. We want satisfaction in our personal growth, academically, intellectually, mentally, emotionally. True or false? Okay, so satisfaction is another way we could describe pleasure. What's another thing we're looking for when we say we're looking for pleasure?
Happiness.
Happiness. Anyone want to argue on that? We all want to be happy. And yet, is it possible that we're living in a generation that claims that happiness is my choice? Or happiness is something that happens to me, and then I'll be happy. For example, when I graduate, I'll be so happy. Remember that experience? When I go on my first date, I'll be so happy. When I get out of this date, I'll be so happy. When I get my first job, I'll be so happy. When I get out of this job, I'll be so happy. When I get married, I'll be so. When I get divorced, I'll be so happy. When I have kids, I'll be so. When I get kids out of the house, I'll be so happy. One second. If my happiness is graduation, if my happiness is that date, if my happiness is the right spouse, if my happiness is the bank manager coming through on the loan, if my happiness is outside me, please tell me I'm not available, I'll call back later. If my happiness depends on something outside of me, who controls my happiness? If my pleasure in life, if my satisfaction in life is dependent on you appreciating me, not you personally, no, sorry. If my happiness and pleasure is dependent on me losing weight, on me looking just right, on me having just a little bit smaller over here. If my happiness is dependent on anything that's not internal, then have I defined happiness that I control, or have I defined something that has to happen outside of me? The bank manager has to give me the loan. My wife has to show me more appreciation. My husband has to be more loving. My children have to be more respectful. Do you hear the problem? The definition I'm creating for satisfaction, for pleasure, for happiness, is one that makes others in control of my happiness. When you change, dear son, daughter, then, and you're more respectful, understanding, well, I bust my tail in this house, in this family, then I'll love you more, then I'll be satisfied in my life. When my students pass their grades, then I'll be happy. When I get promoted, then I'll be happy. Guess what? Will I really be happy? Why not? Because there's always more after that. Also, we have a problem. We want to be satisfied in the pleasure that's already in our lives, but surely, once we get there, there's always more pleasure. Surely, I could lose another 2 pounds, 5 pounds, and then I'd really be happy. You know what, if I could just make a little bit more money, then I'd be happy. Do you know what Paul Getty, you've seen all the Getty's gas stations, Paul Getty, the father of the Getty Empire, when he was already a multi-billionaire and interviewed on television, was asked, you know what, you've got billions of dollars, you've got enough money to retire all your grandchildren who are not yet born, and you're still working so hard. How much more money do you need to make? And do you know what his answer was? A little bit more. How much is a little bit more? And then you'll be satisfied, then you can retire. Howard Hughes died about 20 years ago. Time magazine reported that here's a gentleman who died with $2.2 billion to his name. Now, it's not a lot of money nowadays standards, but it's still not bad. I'll cover my wife. I'll pay for my wife's shoelace account. $2.2 billion! And in his last entry in his diary, the day he died, he wrote, I never recall a day in my life awaking today and saying, I'm happy today. Something's wrong. 2.2 billion reasons to be happy! See, is happiness counting what's not yet happened in my life? When I lose weight, when I make more money, when I live in a bigger home, when I have children, when my husband loves me more, when my wife will show me more respect, when my kids are more understanding, then I'll be happy. Oh, there's always more, even if they do reach that standard that we say, oh, then I'll be satisfied. Guess what? There's always promotion to a higher position. There's always more money, a bigger house. See, if my definition of happiness, pleasure, satisfaction, perhaps the word meaning, is tied to something outside of me, guess what happens even when I accomplish it? I won't be happy. Because if I'm counting what's not yet in my life, and then I'll be happy, guess what? When I get there, there'll always be more. In Hebrew we say, this is from King Solomon, Adam yesh lo mana. Any Israelis here can help me with this? Adam yesh lo mana. A person has 100. Roitzeh matayim. He wants 200. What's the problem? What's the problem? I got 100, but when I get 200, I'll be so happy. When I get 200, I can pay down this loan over here. I could get this new lease on this car over here. I can change the contract on my cell phone, and who cares about? I'll lose money on it. I'll get the latest model. You know what? If I had 200, I could pay down this mortgage. I could go on this vacation. Then I'd be really happy. Guess what happens when I get 200? Yeah, why? Is there something wrong with that? Is that human nature? If it's human nature, then where is the definition for happiness? We all want it. In all areas. We all want satisfaction. We all want meaning. We all want pleasure. But if my definition is that when I get more, and when I arrive there, there's always more than that. Because when I hit 200, guess what happens? My eyes open up and I see, wait a minute. Now that I'm earning 200, do you know what I could do if I had 400? I could buy a private yacht. I could build a second home. I really work so hard. I could really do with a weekend home. You have no idea how much better my life would be. I'd be so happy. There'd be so much more pleasure in my life if I had a second home. Do you hear the problem? As long as my happiness, pleasure, satisfaction, meaning is hanging on something that's not yet in my life, have I defined happiness now, or have I defined unhappiness now? Because as long as I don't have 200, I'm not happy. You know what? Are we only talking about money over here? Or does this translate in other areas as well? I'll give you an example. In the educational system, what would you say your parents pay school fees and college for? Is it how well we get along with our friends? How cooperative we are? How responsible and respectful we are of the professors, the college teachers? Or is it essentially the report card, the grades? Which is it? Our parents pay all that money for the grades. True or false? Is there anyone who wants to argue that? No? Absolutely. And yet, I'm going to ask you an honest question. In real life, and I'll define real life. In real life, marriage. In real life, getting along with the co-workers. In real life, getting along with the boss. In real life, loving your wife when she's not that easy to get along with. Respecting your husband when he's not always there for you. In real life, raising these difficult children driving me nuts. Now, there's no one who can relate to this, but some of you have friends who know what I'm talking about. Raising these kids. In real life, of the workplace, marriage, raising kids. What's going to count more? The grades? Which school the kid went to? Which university? How many diplomas he has? His salary? His corporate position? His job? The perks, the terms? What's going to count? What's going to make happiness in the marriage? Raising that kid. Getting along in the workplace. How much money I make? How many letters at the end of my name? Or how we get along with each other? That's called the emotional IQ. In Hebrew we call it midot, the measures. The real measure of a human being is not how tall they are, how wide, how slim. It's not how big or small their nose is. Yeah? Go tell that to Michael Jackson. It's a bit too late. I don't think it gets smaller than that. It's not the dimensions of our body, and it's not the dimensions of our bank account. People have been there and discovered they're still not happy. It's not even in how loving my spouse is. It's in how loving I am to those around me. Sensitive, giving, generous, understanding, empathetic. The real midot, the real measures of a human being are inside. How and who are we with ourselves? Do we put ourselves first? Our health? Do we put ourselves first? make sure that when I lend money, it's from a place of strength, not from weakness. Am I borrowing money to lend money? Does that make sense? Am I borrowing money in order to afford things which I actually don't have the cash flow to afford? Does that make sense? Who am I putting first? Me, or is it just my image? If I'm paying for a lifestyle that my income does not truly support, is this true happiness, or is it plastic happiness? It's not internal, it's not real. Real happiness is not what's outside of me, and as long as I chase it, it will never catch up with me. I'll never catch up with it. Because there's always more. 400, 800. My dear child, you know what? You're about a 24 out of 100 in math. Do you know what that is? 8 levels below pathetic. I don't know why I'm paying the school fees. Listen, son, you know what? If you just scored a 51 like a pass mark, perhaps, you have no idea how much respect I would have for you. You'd make me so happy. Let's say my kid takes me seriously and busts his tail and gets a 65. Son, you know what? You went from a 24 to a 65. You know what this shows? This proves you can. You really can. You know what, son? If you went somewhere into the, if you just got anywhere in the 80s, you'd make me so proud. I'd be so happy. Let's say my son takes me seriously, and first he really works hard, and he gets an 85. Will I be happy? Listen, son, I want to tell you, this is my last lecture. Son, when I was your age, I averaged 95, 98, never less than 95. Son, if you just get anywhere in the 90s in math, I would be so happy. Is it true? No, because even when they hit the 95, there's always more. My dear wife, you know what? You're about the 36 compared to next door. You know, if you would just be a little bit more, you have no, if you could just score somewhere in the 70s, I would be so happy. You'd make me so, I would be all over you. You have no idea how much love is waiting to burst out on you. Is it true? Or if she takes her husband seriously and really knocks down the pounds, becomes more loving, understanding, and she hits the 75 and 80, darling, you know what? You went from a 36 to an 80. That's amazing. You know what? This really shows you can change. You know what? If you just get like a 90, if you would be a 90, that would make me so, you would have no idea what a loving husband I would be to you. You hear the problem? Even if she goes for it. Because the definition of happiness in this relationship is not what's already good. I'm counting what's not yet good. That's the definition of the world. Happiness. It's not the real definition. The real definition is counting what's already good. If I don't count the 36, I ain't going to count the 75. If I'm not willing to count the 75, I'm not going to count the 85. There's always more. There's always better. So if my definition of happiness is what's not yet in my life, it's the wrong definition. Happiness starts with counting the first 100. If I'm enjoying the first 100 that I'm blessed with in my life, be it my health, be it the wealth, be it the husband, be it the wife, be it the children, be it my scores, be it the effort that I put into college, be it my relationship with my parents, whatever it is, if I count what's good, guess what? That's not mediocrity, that's preparing me. That when I'm blessed with 200, I'll count that as well. But if I'm not willing to count the first 100, when I get 200, I won't count that either. Because I'm looking already for 400. So I'm 400 poor, 200 rich, but I'm not counting the 200. And when I get to 400, I'll be 400 rich, but 800 poor. I'm not counting the 400. I'm counting the 800. Then I'll be happy. I'll take a question in just a few moments. Sandra writes home. Dear Mom and Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't write home to you. The last 3 months, I've been in college. There was an accident. There was a terrible fire in my apartment. I threw myself out the window. There was no way out. Mom and Dad, please don't continue reading this letter until you're sitting in a really comfortable couch. Oh my gosh, what happened to her? Dear Mom and Dad, when I threw myself out the window, I fractured my skull. I broke both my legs. Mom and Dad, there was a gas attendant across the street. If it wasn't for him, you would not be receiving this letter from me. Mom and Dad, He called the ambulance, he called the fire brigade. It's because of him I'm still alive. They took me to intensive care. I was there for 2 months. I was in a coma. This young man, he's so sweet, gas attendant. You know what? He brought me chocolates every day, brought me flowers, gave me words of encouragement. I couldn't answer back. I was in a coma. I didn't know what. But you know, I heard everything he said. He gave me so much hope. I stayed through it because of him. Mom, Dad, when they discharged me from intensive care, I had nowhere to go. My pumpers were burnt out. My memory hadn't come back yet fully. And he was such a kind man. He took me into his apartment. And I contracted a little bit of his disease he has in his blood. But Mom and Dad, I want to invite you to our wedding before the pregnancy shows up. Lots of love, sideways. You know what? If you were Mom and Dad reading this letter, and you didn't get to the PS before you had heart attack, the PS would read something like this. PS, Mom and Dad, there was no fire in my apartment. I did not throw myself out the window. I didn't break my skull. I didn't fracture my legs. Mom and Dad, there was no gas attendant. Mom and Dad, I was not in a coma. And Mom and Dad, not pregnant, and I don't have a dangerous disease. But Mom and Dad, I failed chemistry. But I wanted to put it in perspective. Whatever goes wrong in our lives will never be as much as what could go wrong in our life. Whatever goes wrong in the relationship is never as much what could go wrong in the relationship. No matter what goes wrong in our health is nowhere near what it could be, God forbid. No matter how bad is the finances, it could be a whole lot worse. But we're living in a country, we're living in a society with all the opportunity, luxury, comforts that are real. We're living in a society that is mostly directed by government or media. Which would you say? Media. How do you know? How powerful is the media in influencing our mindset to believe that happiness is not my choice to count the first 100 in my life? It's not my choice to notice what's already good in my wife, in my husband, in my child, in my health, in my wealth. The media, how powerful are they in convincing me that my happiness is outside of me? That when I make more money, when I lose weight, when I get that degree, when I get married, when I have children, when I'm more intellectually, when I'm more intelligent, when I'm more emotionally attuned, when I'm more sociable, then I'll be happy. If you had to give a rating to the media as to how powerful they are in their ability to persuade us that happiness is outside of us, what would you score them on a 0 to 10 scale? What would you score them? 10? 9? 18? 20? You break the scale! Let me share with you, from the power of the media, I used to work in advertising with my father. My father is a famous actor in England. He's the best in the world in film industry in revoicing films. I don't know none of you guys movies, but some of you know James Bond. So in the old Bond movies, Sean Connery and Roger Moore, you remember those? There's some? Okay. See, some of you guys have been to these. Yeah, familiar? So in those old days, my father was the director of all the revoicing on those movies. I'm sharing that with you only to help you understand where I'm coming from when I tell you about the world of advertising. I used to work with Saatchi and Saatchi. Saatchi and Saatchi, they're actually Iraqi Jews, 4 brothers. They're split up now, but they used to be the biggest advertisers in the world. They're the ones that got Margaret Thatcher into government. Not small time. They're big time marketing. About 50 years ago, there was an unwritten policy in the world of marketing, and it basically went like this. If we can create a system to persuade an entire generation to buy our product, if we can create a system that goes right into the mind and rewires the mind to believe that happiness, pleasure, satisfaction, meaning, the deepest cravings of the human mind, the deepest cravings of the soul and the heart, are dependent on product and lifestyle, then we'll be able to sell that generation anything forever. Do you hear the claim? Watch how it works. This is how every advertisement, Every commercial works exactly the same way. This is about 50 years ago. They did the research, and it goes like this. They came up with the following formula, and it still works until today. Simple formula. You take every painful emotion in society. Make a long list. Depression, feeling alone, feeling unloved, feeling ugly, feeling fat, feeling I will never get a relationship, I'll never have a steady relationship, I'll never get married, my kids will never love me, I'll always be guilty about how I behaved as a child, I'll never get along with my... Whatever pain is out there, it's on this long list. What's it got to do with advertising? Oh, no. Then they take the solution to the problem. Unhappy will tell you you're happy. Unloved will tell you love. Ugly will tell you you're beautiful. We'll find a solution to every problem. How do they sell the product? Oh, that's easy. Take the problem, take the pain, and associate it on the screen, in the advertisements, in the camera. Take the pain and make sure that I'm targeting my audience with that pain. So if I'm a teenager, talk about relationships, premarital relationships. Looking good. We're talking about married people, we're talking about guilt, not giving the children enough time. You hear the problem? If we're talking about someone who's single, we'll say, this is what to do to feel that I'm going to get the person that I want to attract in my life. Now take the product and powerfully associate it with the solution. You hear this? Problem, pain. Oh, that's me. Pain, pain, pain. Solution. Oh. Product, solution, product. Ooh, must get that product, solution. Solve my problem. You hear the formula? It's really simple. I'll give you an example. In England, there's a product called AT&T, that's your product. British Telecom. British Telecom. Heard of British Telecom? British Telecom is the equivalent of your AT&T. It's a very good product. I'm not knocking the product. But a number of years ago, they came up with a commercial using this formula. This formula is in every single advertisement, every commercial, every still photo. It goes like this. They were trying to sell telephones and communication accessories, and they came up with a brilliant idea. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Some saw the Disney version, some read the book. But you see in this commercial, the Hunchback in total panic. There he is in the tower, and this murderous mob, with their fiery torches, their bloodshot eyes, marching down the pebbled street screaming, "Kill him!" Trying to wake you up, sorry. Kill him! You see this murderous mob coming closer to the entrance of the tower, and this poor, ugly hunchback doesn't know where to go. And amidst this chaos, suddenly, phone rings. This is 400 years ago. And he pulls the receiver off the wall. And on the other end of the line is a 16-year-old young lady who says to him, "I love you." And this hunchback, at any moment, this murderous mob are going to tear this ugly creature alive, burn him to pieces, pulls the receiver away from his face, and screams down to the mob, "She loves me. She loves me." And this murderous mob stops short of the entrance to the tower, and suddenly, big smiles open up across their faces, and they sing in perfect unison, "She loves you! She loves you!" And just before the end of the commercial, the following caption goes across the screen in a British accent, which I can do quite well. "If you want to be loved by someone, buy British Telecom." End of commercial. This commercial cost £250,000. That's about $400,000. It's a lot of money. Do they really think that we're so unintelligent, so shallow, that we're going to buy their product because of this commercial? Yeah. Do you think the British are so shallow, so unintelligent? No, don't ask that question. Do you think the British are so shallow, so unintelligent, that they're going to go and buy British Telecom because the hunchback can understand? Well, go to the script writing room and listen to what was going on in their brains when they designed this commercial. According to our statistics, Mr. 18-year-old plus, wakes up one morning, looks in the mirror, oh my God, my face, I'm so ugly. Oh, no one's going to want to marry me, who's going to have a relationship with me, I'm going to be single all my life. You know what? We looked at this person's pain, we felt so bad for you, we decided to spend £250,000 on a commercial just for you. And it goes like this. Buy British Telecom and we'll tell you you are loved. Do you really think people are going to buy British Telecom because of this commercial? Hold off your verdict. Let's go a little bit more local. Oh, Mr. Klein, what can I do for you? I want my product in every state, in every store across America. Certainly, Mr. Klein, what are you selling? Underwear! You know what? You be the advertising agency. How are you going to get a whole country, a whole nation excited about underwear? Unless you're not selling underwear. So, the advertising agency of Calvin Klein came up with a brilliant concept. Black and white still photos. Do you know how much money they saved on full-color processing? Black and white still photos depicting two messages. What are the two messages in every Calvin Klein ad? If you wear the clothes, or don't wear them this way, then what's going to happen?
Good things.
Now, none of you have seen the ads, so you probably have difficulty over here. But seriously speaking, there's two messages in every single Calvin Klein ad. Number one, it's about to happen. And number two, it just did. Think about it. No, don't look. But when you have a friend who next looks at the ad, that's what they're selling. It's about to happen, or it just did. Did you hear that? You hear that? Do you think that message, SEX, is about to happen, or it just did, perhaps would relate to a few 100 million frustrated youth? You think so? Yeah, you bet. In fact, how successful was that ad? Did other products take on the same idea? Absolutely. Michael Jackson! You won't remember this. He's not so popular nowadays. But about 15 years ago, I think it was, he did a commercial for Pepsi. And he wiggled his body in front of the camera for 186 seconds of his precious time. And he was paid how much for that commercial? $11 million! I would have done it for half the price! $11 million for 186 seconds! And the camera had Pepsi being splashed all over the place, and there he was, wiggling his body, Pepsi, Michael Jackson. Cool! Do you know he refused to, the script had it that he should hold the Pepsi can in his hand? Do you know that? He refused to hold the Pepsi in his hand. Do you know why? He said, this is not a healthy drink. Oh, man of integrity! How successful were his sales? Do you know? How successful were Pepsi's sales? Within 2 months, Sony signed up Michael Jackson for a 10-year contract for $2 billion. If you're not sure about the power of commercials to convince our minds that happiness, pleasure, meaning, feeling cool, feeling loved is associated to products and lifestyle outside of me, take a closer look. And here's the real problem. When Saatchi and Saatchi were asked, do you really think that people with doctorates, PhDs, master degrees, intelligent people with a decent education are buying your products because of your commercials? Do you know what their answer was? We don't care. We don't care if you don't buy our product because our commercial. What do you mean you don't care? You're spending billions of dollars. How can you say that? We don't care because you will anyway. Where's the arrogance? How do you know we're going to buy it anyway? And here's their shocking answer. Give me your child. For the first 10 years of her life, I'll sell them any product for a lifetime. How many commercials has the average American child in this country seen before the age of 10? Any idea? Approximately, it's not difficult to actually figure it out, but it's approximately 250,000 commercials. Think about it. 250,000 times I'm told happiness is a beautiful woman. Think about it. You know, when I was 9 years old, I'll never forget in Earl's Court, you know, you've been to Manhattan, the Javits Center, right? So in London, our smaller version of your Javits Center is the Earl's Court. It's the biggest convention center in England. Earl's Court, every year there was a national sports car event, motor show at school. And I used to go with my father, just look at all the beautiful Lamborghinis and sports cars. And something really strange, there was this young lady in a suggestive position sitting on top of the sports car in a bikini. You know what? In England it's not very warm, even in the summer. And I'll never forget, I was holding my father's hand, and I said to him, Dad, you know what? If you write out a check for the car, do you get the... What is she doing on top of the car? And the answer is, they're not selling cars. They're selling emotional expectations of what will happen to me if I buy, eat, drink, smoke, vacate, live this product, lifestyle. Happiness in society today has been defined as what's going to happen to me. Then I'll be happy. Is it any surprise that we're living in a society that has probably more pain associated to frustration, depression, lack of job satisfaction, because the definition of happiness is no longer counting what's already good, it's counting what's not yet good. But the problem with that is, there's always going to be more. The secret of happiness is to start counting what's already good, and then when I get more, I'll count that too. But if I don't count what's already good in my looks, health, wealth, personal qualities, if I don't count the good that's already in ourselves, I'm training it, not counting it. When I get more, I'll be counting what's not yet right. And here's the deeper problem. If I'm not willing to notice the qualities in my girlfriend, in my boyfriend, in my husband, in my wife, I'm training myself in counting what's not yet good enough in them. And now I'm going to be focusing on not what's good in you, on what's not yet good enough in you. And complaining that when you've got more, then I'll be happy. You see, if I blame you, complain about you, dear spouse, dear child, dear mother, dear father, dear boss, whoever it is I complain about, and I'm complaining about what I don't like, think about it. If I have a right, I'm not sure I do, but if I have a right to say what I don't like about your personality, what I don't like about your performance, what I don't like about your looks, what I don't like about this relationship, if I have a right to say what I don't like, then by my logic, I have to tell you what's right. If I have a right to say what's wrong, then I have the same obligation by my own logic to at least tell you what's good, what's right, what's beautiful, what's special in this relationship, in this girl, in this boy, in this spouse. And if I'm not willing to count the first 100 in you, dear child, dear spouse, guess what? When you get more, I won't count that either, because I'll be counting when you are more than that. Then I'll be happy. And if I say it's your fault, you are not good enough, intelligent enough, beautiful enough, appreciative enough, respectful enough, then who has to change? When I blame you and complain about you, accuse you, who has to change? You have to change. I don't have to change. Oh, we're really getting to the depths of it. Why would I blame my unhappiness on my parents, my brother, my sister, my friends? Why would I want to blame on others? Because it gets me out of changing me. Because if I can blame you and say you're the one who has to change, I don't have to take responsibility. If my boss has to be more appreciative, my spouse has to be more appreciative, hey, wait a minute. You mean I don't have to expect my spouse to be appreciative? Well, let's figure this out. I don't have to expect my boyfriend, my girlfriend to be appreciative of what I do in this relationship. Let me ask you. If I try to change you, will you be endeared to me? If I tell you what I don't like about you, would you say, oh, you know, that's really interesting. I'm so glad that you're telling me all these things that are wrong with me. No, I feel so good, because this gives me a chance to change and then be more beloved to you. Please, is there anything else you can tell me that's wrong with me? How many people respond that way? Honestly. That'll make the question much easier. Have you ever met anyone in your life that was so happy when you told them what's wrong with them that they asked you for a bigger list? Do you know anyone who you changed by trying to change them? I'll make the question much easier. Do you know any mom or dad who succeeded in changing the other mom or dad by trying to change them? Or did it only end up in me bringing out my list of complaints against you? Do you know anyone in world history who succeeded in honestly changing another person by trying to change them? By telling them what's not yet good enough about their personality? Or we're so disendeared, so resentful, so angry. After all I do for you, this is what you're telling me? That instead of me being appreciative for the criticism, now I'm going to pull out my list of your crimes against me. And the relationship starts spiraling down. You hear the problem? The secret of happiness is not in what's not yet happened to me, be it money, be it relationships, be it health, be it wealth. It's counting what's already good in each other. And when I do that, guess what? When I look for the good in you, you're going to change on your own. Because you're going to say, oh, wait a minute. You think this of me? Then what will happen? You'll perform less or more. The person will want to be a better them if we hold that standard. If I try to change you, you will resist. But if I try to change me by being more loving, giving, understanding, sympathetic, empathetic, understanding, appreciative, loving, grateful, oh, when we change ourselves, the person we thought we wanted to change changes because they're changing. They're not dealing with the same me. They're not dealing with the same you. They're responding to a different you. That's how they change. But if I try to change you by telling you what's wrong, you'll resist, and you'll fight back, you'll resent, become angry. It's deeper than that. I'll even share with you an amazing insight. This is a mature audience. I know not everyone's married in this room, but here's a beautiful example from the Talmud. The Talmud tells us that a Jewish man and woman in intimacy of marriage should be intimate not during the daytime. Should be nighttime or undercover. Why? Why? The Talmud gives an amazing answer. Because there's a mitzvah in the Torah which says, Ve'ahavta l'recha kamecha. Love others like you love yourself. And if your spouse has a pimple, do you expect them to say, oh darling, you know, I've got this really amazing pimple, look at us. It's so big. You go, now, if your spouse is not going to show you a blemish on their body, it's not my business to see it. So comes along the Talmud and says, protect your spouse's physical blemishes from your own eyes by practicing intimacy by night, not by day. Or undercover so you don't see. And if you do see, shut up. Because if he or she doesn't say, look at this blemish, it's not my business to notice. One person told me, true story, that the morning after he married, his wife woke up with a terrible cold, and her nose was completely red. And she was devastated. Oh my God! She was so humiliated, so embarrassed. And she gets out of bed the first morning. And she says to her husband, I'm so sorry. I've got this terrible cold and my nose has gone all red. And he goes, where? She says, here. He noticed the shutter note on his colorblind. Thank God. Years later, after the relationship was a little bit stronger, he admitted that of course he saw a red, bright nose, but he knew she'd be broken. So he pretended he didn't know what she was talking about. Gentlemen, do you appreciate that? Ladies, do you appreciate that? Absolutely. It's not my business to bring to your attention your blemishes if you don't invite me. That's what the Talmud is telling us. Says the mention of Shiva, of blessed memory, Rabbi Segel. Is the Talmud only talking about physical blemishes? That it's not my business to notice a physical blemish on my own spouse? If he or she doesn't tell me, look at this. If she's not inviting me, says Rabbi Segel, are we only talking about physical blemishes? What about emotional blemishes? If my spouse, my own spouse, doesn't tell me about his, her own weaknesses, is it my business to tell them their weaknesses? Or will they be so hurt, upset, and probably resist, they're most likely going to get their list, and it might be longer than ours, of our blemishes in our character. Happiness is not counting what's wrong, it's counting what's right. And it's more real than what's wrong. Because whatever's wrong in my life could be a whole lot worse. But if I look for what's good, and I'm not talking about denying the bad, I'm much more easily able to deal with the bad if I'm real, honest about the good. Imagine you got a big poster over here. Big white poster. Can you see it in your imagination? And right in the middle is a dot about this size. A black dot, this size. Can you see it? Big, big white poster. Black dot in the middle. And the audience is asked, tell me, what do you see? So most people would probably say, I see a black dot. But wait a minute. One second. And there's this big piece of paper, and it's all white, and there's one black dot somewhere in the middle. Why do I immediately focus on the black dot? Think about it. Why? Because everything else around it is white. You see, that black dot is the bad news in our life that we read about, hear about on the news every day. Do you know why it's a black dot? Do you know why? Because it's news. Think about it. You see, everything else that's going right in my life is not news. It's happening all the time. Health! Paying the bills! Trying to look good! Take care of my health! Think about it. Smile. Being kind. The good things that are taking place in my life are not news. They're happening all the time. When something goes wrong, now I have an opportunity. Do I focus on the black dot and then look for other black dots in my personality and in yours and slowly destroy each other, and that way find out that life is not so happy? Or am I willing to say, you know what, I bet there's much more white than black? I'll share with you a true story. Never happened, but it's a true story because the message in the story is true. Please forgive me if you've heard this one before from the Gateway Seminar, but hopefully the way I say it's quite funny anyway. There's two farmers in southern England. Did you get used to my English accent? Yeah, okay, so I'm switching now to a southern English accent. Is that okay? Okay. So in southern England, there's two farmers in a pub, and they're having a drink of beer together, and one says to the other, I won £1 million! Oy, that'd be good. That'd be bad, I spent it all. Oh, that'd be bad. No, that'd be good. Bought myself an aeroplane. Oh, that'd be good. That'd be bad. Blew up in midair. Oh, that'd be bad. No, that'd be good. I jumped out just in time. Oh, that'd be good. That'd be bad. Forgot me parachute. Oh, that'd be bad. No, that'd be good. There was a haystack below. Oh, that'd be good. That'd be bad. There was a pitchfork sticking out of the haystack. Oh, that'd be bad. No, that'd be good. I missed the pitchfork. Oh, that'd be good. That'd be bad. I missed the haystack. Oh, that'd be bad. No, that'd be good. Found an open grave. Oh, that'd be good. That'd be bad. Funeral men were filling it in. Oh, that'd be bad. No, that'd be good. I told them I was still alive. Oh, that'd be good. That'd be bad. They wouldn't believe me. Life is one long story. That'd be good. Oh, that'd be bad. Marriage. Oh, that'd be good. Oh, that'd be bad. Raising kids. Oh, that'd be good. Oh, that'd be bad. Health. Oh, that'd be good. That'd be bad. Finances. Oh, that'd be good. That'd be bad. Question. Do you know any friend who has perfect health all the time? And if you do they enjoy perfect finances all the time? And if you do they have a great mother-in-law all the time? Let's say you know someone who's got best health, best finances, best mother-in-law. Are they enjoying the greatest marriage? Let's say you know someone who's got the greatest mother-in-law, wonderful finances, great health, great marriage. Are they enjoying the kids? Let's say you know someone who's got wonderful kids, great finances, wonderful marriage, great health, wonderful mother-in-law. Do they enjoy their job? Let's say you know someone who enjoys their job, has great marriage, great mother-in-law, great finances, great health. Do you know anyone like that? I'll make the question much easier. Do you know anyone in history like that? I'll make the question even easier. Do you know anyone in world history who had all that all the time? You see, if I define happiness as great marriage, wonderful finances, looking good all the time, wonderful children all the time, great mother-in-law all the time, great father-in-law all the time, great extended members of all my family, siblings, brothers, sisters, brother-in-law, sister-in-law all the time. Have I defined happiness? Or have I defined death in this world? Frustration, constant suffering. Because there are such unrealistic expectations, I have way defined, not happiness, I've defined unhappiness. Happiness is not outside of me, it's what's taking place inside of me. Who was the first person to deny the good that God gave him in his life? If counting our blessings, if counting what's good is happiness, denial of good is unhappiness. The first person to complain was Adam. When Adam ate from the tree and God said to him, Adam, why do you feel embarrassed about being naked? Did you eat from the tree I told you not to eat from? What should Adam have responded? Yes, I did. I'm sorry. I can't believe I did that. I'm so sorry. What did he say? Aisha! That woman! Who was he blaming? Who was he blaming? Ashinatata imati! That you gifted to stand by me! Ooh. Who was Adam blaming? Says Rashi, the most famous biblical commentator, quoting from the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, Mikal, from here we learn that in this aspect, Adam was kafeh tov. He denied the good. God gave him a good gift. And instead of taking responsibility for his own mistake, blamed it on someone else. God moves to Chava. Oh, why did you eat from the tree I told you not to eat? What should she have said? I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I've never seen on anybody else's life, please forgive me. What did she say? Oh, gosh! That snake Kishiani persuaded me! Now why didn't God ask the snake? Didn't have a leg to stand on. If I play the game of blame, A, accuse. B, blame. C, complain. D, deny it's my fault. E, give excuses why it's your fault, not mine. A, B, C, D, E. If I get out of my own happiness and blame you for my unhappiness, what I'm really doing is getting out of changing the only person God made me able to change. Me. And by blaming you and making you responsible for my unhappiness, I am choosing a definition that doesn't work, that's only going to equal frustration. Happiness is noticing what's already good in who's in my life. Me, my friends, family, my own academic achievements. And if I count what's bad, I at least have to count what's good if I'm going to play that game. Finding the good in my spouse, being loving, appreciative, giving, generous, apologetic, forgiving, respectful. Each one of those are the true measures of a human being. Those are the midah, the real measures of whether we'll be happy in our lives. It's not how much money I'll make, it's how I love those who are in my life. It's not how long I live, it's how I live. It's not what I do with my money, it's how I give to others that's going to make the difference. I'll end off on the following. How many of you get in the mail offers for a credit line, $5,000? Yeah? Do you ever get that? Do your parents ever get it? Once or twice a day? All the time! We're living in a very interesting society. Do you know why? Because what is a credit line really saying? You've been, what your name is? Malka, you've been pre-approved for $25,000 credit. You know what? And if you apply before June 31st, you get a special rate of 4.3, 4.9% interest. Are you interested? Do you know what you can do with $25,000? You know what you can do with it? You can buy a car, lease a car, you can take a vacation. It's unbelievable what you can do. You're not interested? You're not interested? Your name is? Shlomo, you've been pre-approved for $50,000. Are you interested? Yes? Good. You've got a customer. Now, you know what? Let's call the credit card what it really is. You remember we spoke about the power of the media to convince me that happiness is not my responsibility. It has to happen to me from the outside. Products, lifestyle. What is a credit card? What is a credit card? It's a debt card. Think about it. Am I wrong? You see, in the world of advertising, it's all words.
Plastic happiness.
Plastic?
Happiness.
Plastic happiness. It's all in the words. What was life insurance originally called? Death insurance. Think about it. 20 years ago, you're sitting at home and you get a knock on the door. Open the door. Yes. I'm selling death insurance and accessories. Not insurance, sorry. They couldn't sell it, so they changed it to life insurance. A credit card is a debt card. So let's call it what it really is and see how interested you are in. Malcolm, you've been pre-approved for $25,000 debt over and above all other debts you presently have. And if you consolidate today and apply before June 30th, you'll get a special rate of 4.9% interest over and above prime rates. Are you interested? No? Your name is? Shlomo, $50,000 debt! Over and above all other debts. Isn't that a wonderful idea? Do you realize how much more money you'll be needing to work for? Not interested? You've been pre-approved for platinum, silver, $100,000 debt! Do you realize we can show you? We've got the research that proves with $100,000 additional debt, you'll have less time for yourself, less time for your family, more likely to get divorced. Oh, what a wonderful thought! We can prove, we've got the medical records to prove that people with more financial stress because of the debts they have in their lives are more likely to get heart disease, cancer, and die young. Am I exaggerating? Was this reality? Absolute reality. What did our great-grandparents or grandparents do if they couldn't afford something? What did they do?
They didn't buy it.
Didn't buy it! Or? They saved. Or? They stole. Don't say it. Only joking. Only joking. Either they saved, or they did without, or?
Borrowed.
They borrowed. Would they borrow 19% interest? No, of course not. And what do I do if I can't afford something? What do I do? Charge it. Charge it to my credit card. And guess what happens when you get the first statement? I owe $600 on this purchase. Minimum due $16. I did plan to pay off in full before the end of the month, but you know what? That's amazing. If I just pay the minimum, that will free up the rest of the $584. I could buy something else with that. You hear the problem? Is this an exaggeration, or this is what they rely on? In fact, how much has the American consumer, the average American consumer, actually paid for any single item bought with a credit card once they paid it off in full? What's the average amount? Most people do not pay in full at the end of the month. True or false? They pay somewhere between the minimum and the maximum. What's the average amount that an American has paid for any single purchase once he's paid off his credit card? Any idea? Between 400% and 600% the original price. Does that sound like a good bargain? Uh-oh. You probably have a sister who can relate to this answer. We're living in a society that wants to sell me, if I can't have it, get it anyway. Immediate gratification. Instead of me counting what I've already got in my life, I'm counting what I haven't yet got. And the credit card industry is feeding right into that. I'm not knocking credit cards, only irresponsible use of it. You hear the problem? That's what we're up against in this world. I'm going to end off on the following. Once there was a little girl, 3 years old. Very sweet little girl. I'm going to change the story, another one. 2 boys, really mischievous, always getting in trouble. Finally, Mum said, you know what? Everything that goes wrong in this town is always their fault. I gotta find someone that's going to discipline my 2 boys. She finds out that the local clergy, the local priest, he's a disciplinarian. He knows exactly how. She sets up an appointment for the 8-year-old, 10 o'clock in the morning, 10-year-old, 12 o'clock in the morning. 8-year-old goes in to the priest and he says to him, "Where is God?" The boy goes, "Where is God? Where is God?" She runs home, hides in the closet, shaking there for 2 hours, till his brother Michael finds him and says, "Shlomi, what happened to you? What happened to you?" He said, "Michael, this time we're in big trouble. God's missing and they think it's us." If God's missing in my life, if God is missing in my life, the media can sell to me what's true happiness. The media will sell to me what's true wealth, health, and they'll sell me that happiness is the shape of the opposite gender. They'll sell me happiness is this diet, this cigarette, this car, this vacation, credit card, and it's all image. It's not real. It's plastic. Artificial coloring, artificial ingredients, it's not real. Real happiness is counting the good that's already in me and already in you. Counting the virtues is not mediocrity. It's preparing me, it's training me, that when God blesses me with more, I'll thank Him for that too, and I'll be more happy. Now I have 200 reasons to be happy, 400, 800, but as long as it's the 1,600, 2,400 that's going to make me happy, I'm into the wrong definition. Thank you for your patience.